Hi everybody, and welcome to our show. This is From This Corner TV, and we try to share information and make it interesting and a little bit entertaining. I'm your host, Marilyn Dayton, and today we're really going to make it a good combination of interesting information and entertaining. I can tell already. With us, we are very, very lucky to have Fern Tausig. Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay. She's a certified hypnotist and a hypno-coach, which we will talk about in a few minutes. Let me just give you a little bit of information. It doesn't even touch everything that she's experienced with, but it'll give you an idea. She's a former health education teacher and brings all of her experience to her work today as an educational consultant. She does workshops and seminars for corporations, associations, and social clubs, and helps people like you take back control over your life through dealing with your challenges and even sometimes getting off any drugs you may be taking for some of your dependency problems. It's absolutely amazing what she can do. She's going to be sharing some of her stories of success and how she's helped people. And one of the strengths that Fern has is her background, her experience in nutrition, holistic health, stress management, relationships. She's experienced so much that she takes this service she does of helping you, and it kind of gets a lot further than just hypnosis. Okay, so it's going to be really interesting. And Fern, I am so happy that you are here.
Well, I am so happy to be here, I have to be honest with you. The best, most favorite thing for me to do is talk about hypnosis and to teach, because so many people are misunderstood when it comes to hypnosis. They just don't get it. And as an educator, my passion is to teach and to help people realize the secret is that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And most people are already doing it, but they're doing the negative kind. So once you learn about the power of your mind, you can do anything. And that's the amazing part. And this opportunity to speak to all of your people is really wonderful. So thank you.
Well, when we met at eWomen Network, which is a wonderful thing, and I've talked about it before, we talked a little bit, and I thought, oh my God, I've got to have her on my show. She's just so interesting. And I could also tell that you're someone who is caring about the person that you're talking to. And I could tell that you are very good at what you do, and I haven't done anything but talk to her.
You haven't experienced it yet.
I haven't experienced it yet.
Right.
But she's been telling me these stories, which she's going to get to some stories. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But let me ask you this. The field of hypnosis, you're certified. What does that mean?
It means that I took a course that was offered by a recognized accredited institution. Happens to be the National Guild of Hypnotists. It's a large organization, international. And I took the course and I studied and learned and passed the test, and that was over 9 years ago. And then I spent my first year practicing, because knowing how to do something is different than being effective and being good at it. So I would hypnotize anybody that would let me for a year for free, so that I could practice and practice, and I'm still learning and still practicing, but I've gotten really good at it.
Oh, I bet
so
you have.
I just love this work. I just love it.
Well, it comes through and shows.
Thank you.
Now, what does, I had to make sure that in the titles it said Hypno-Coach. Explain to us a little bit what that means, and that sets you apart from other people, correct?
It does. Hypno-coaching is a separate certification that I have, and I was trained as a life coach using hypnosis. So as a hypnotist, you hypnotize someone, you bring out the best in them, you learn to get to the issues, but as a hypno-coach, it doesn't always have to be in person. So I use hypnosis when I need it, but I can also do phone sessions as follow-ups to guide them towards accomplishing goals. Some people just need a little guidance, weekly phone call for 30 minutes. What have you done? What are you going to do? And if they're finding that they're having a hard time succeeding, I'll say maybe you should come in for a session and let's see what's at the bottom of that. So it's a combination of life coach and hypnosis, which is a wonderful combination.
It sounds like it would be. And, you know, it's people when they have problems and challenges.
Like everyone.
Like everybody, we've all got
Something,
challenges.
right.
You know, we think, oh my God, who do I go to for help with this? Do I need to go to a psychiatrist, a psychologist? What do I need? What you do is different from what they do.
You know, I wrestle with this sometimes, but I have to tell you from my experience, I've had many of my clients say to me that I have been in therapy for 10 years, and I feel better after this one hypnosis session than I did after 10 years of therapy.
What is it that works?
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Because a therapist will talk to you and ask you questions, and they do a lot of listening. And generally, they only really speak to your conscious, critical mind. You have an unconscious mind where all of your feelings, beliefs, all your issues are. All your stuff is in your unconscious mind. And your conscious mind just doesn't get it. It can guess, it can try and analyze, it can try and figure it out, but it's not conscious feelings, it's not conscious issues, they're unconscious. So, whereas I think talk therapy is wonderful and everybody could benefit from talk therapy, to get to the bottom of an issue, you can go to 10 hours of therapy or you can go to 10 years of therapy or 10 hours of hypnosis and sometimes get a better result. Because hypnosis doesn't communicate with the person on a conscious level. They put you into trance, which is not a sleep, which you don't go into a coma, which you just go into a nice, relaxed state where you are in a altered state of consciousness, a lot like you are when you go to the movies. Think about it. When you go to the movies, you're watching a movie, and if you get really scared, it's because you're watching the movie as though everything you're seeing is real. You're watching the movie as though you are even part of it. When something scary happens, you get really scared, you cry. If you were watching the movie consciously, you'd say, that's not blood, it's red goop. They're not getting hurt. They're actors. What am I scared for? I'm sitting here at a movie theater. The worst that can happen to me is someone's going to steal my popcorn. But that's not what happens. You get really scared and really involved because you are in an altered state of mind. Your conscious mind, the logical one, zones off and lets you enjoy the movie emotionally. And so if people say to me they can't be hypnotized, and I'll say, did you ever get scared at a movie? Or do you say, that's not real. I don't want to watch it. Doesn't matter. So if you have ever gone to a movie and believed what you were seeing was real, you are in a very mild state of hypnosis. So most people experience it every day. And did you ever daydream? When people daydream, you know what? That is hypnosis. When you drive in your car and you get somewhere and you say, how did I get here so fast? That's hypnosis. So it's not a bit, you know, the word is really, comes from the Greek word meaning sleep, hypnos, but it's very misleading because it really, not everybody goes into hypnosis that is asleep. Nobody's asleep. All professional athletes use hypnosis. Everybody uses hypnosis if they really want to be their best. So if somebody has an issue, I would recommend that you contact a good, reputable hypnotist and find out what their expertise is, what their comfort level is, and what their experience is. Because it's like a massage. You know, not everybody that rubs your back is a massage therapist. And not every massage therapist is going to give you the massage you want. So you really need to shop around. You can talk a lot. You can tell a lot by talking to someone on the phone, you know, and ask all the right questions. And then you get a feel for whether or not this person can help you. And it doesn't replace therapy, but it's a wonderful adjunct to it. And in some cases, after hypnosis, you don't necessarily need therapy because hypnotists will teach you how to hypnotize yourself by changing your self-talk. And sometimes the things that you hear in your head, I'm not good enough, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that, it came from the past. It came from somebody telling you that, whether it was a bully in school, whether it was your mother, whether it was your father. So we have a lot of programming that's outdated. It just needs to be updated, deleted, eliminated. I hate to tell you how easy it is, because sometimes it's so easy.
You make it sound easy.
I
It's
know,
like,
I know. I
course.
shouldn't do that. But when people say to me, can you help me with that? I'm like, of course I can do that. It doesn't always happen in one session, you know, because you've been this way for 10 years. You don't get better in one session. But it's very effective, very effective.
What are some of the things that you do?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough question. So I can tell you that I had the most adorable woman come to me. She was 50-something years old, just adorable. She came to me because she wanted to lose weight. And she said to me that she's eating out of control. Whenever somebody uses that expression, out of control, I know that the eating is not her problem. It's a symptom of her problem. Her problem is her life is out of control. Some aspect of it. So I said to her, so your eating is out of control? Tell me about your life. She said, my husband's awful. He says mean things to me. Shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. My children disrespect me. She has 5 kids all living at home from age 14 to 28, and they all are mean to her. So when they come home, I go upstairs in my room and I lock my door, and I can't talk to them because they scream at me. She said to me, honestly, I would kill myself, except that my kids need me. She said, I've been miserable for 25 years. I'm a housewife, and that's all I know, and I'm miserable. I said to her, and you came to me to lose weight? That's what you're working on? So I said to her, you know, and she was talking very loud. I said to her, you don't have to yell, I can hear you. She said, I have to yell, or nobody hears me. I said, the more quietly you speak, the better they'll hear you. So really what I did was I helped her to find her power. We all have power. We just don't use it. She came back the following week, tears flowing down her face. What's the matter? I'm so happy. She said, I haven't yelled in a week. My husband apologized. My kids are all different. What did you do to me? I didn't do anything. I gave you back your power. I helped you feel your power. So I said to her, whenever you speak to your children, you always want to come from a place of love and power. And when you say to them, you can't talk to me that way, I don't like it, and you walk away, you don't have to scream. She didn't realize that part of the chaos in her house was her. That she felt so powerless that it made the kids nervous. It made them feel insecure, and people only act bad when they feel bad. And so she came to me for 3 or 4 sessions, and now I see on Facebook she writes, I love my husband, I'm so happy. I mean, it just makes me smile.
Oh, wow.
And I've done that for many women who tell me they just feel out of control. I can fix that.
Well, you know, there's so much that we demand of ourselves in modern day. We need to be in our relationship. Like for me, I'm a mother, a grandmother, a friend, a business consultant, you know, marketing consultant, but I'm also a person.
Right.
And I just got back from a 3-week vacation to see my son in Japan. And I'm trying to get back in the work mode, and I'm having a tough time because...
I can fix that.
No, I don't want to fix it, actually.
Oh, that's right.
I kind of like it because I also just turned 70, and I'm the kind of person that's going all the time. But I've been telling myself, are you going at the pace you want to be going at, doing the things you want to do? Sit back, make a list of all the things that you do, and what are the things, start shifting your priorities, update it.
Right, that's right.
And spend
Update
more
it,
time
right.
with your friends, spend more time reading. I love to read. Suddenly I've rediscovered reading.
Right.
And I feel different because I'm doing this.
Right.
Not that I'm going to quit working, I'm not, but I'm going to cut back.
Right.
I've said that before.
Right.
But
Right.
I am going to do it now. But it's the power that is in
You
there.
just
But
make up your mind and you do it.
yeah, you've got to look at yourself in the mirror and go, hello, talk to me about this. You know?
And have you tried to do this before?
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you about the word try.
Okay.
Because we have a conscious mind and an unconscious mind, most people are aware of that. Your unconscious mind is so literal. It doesn't understand innuendo. It doesn't understand that doesn't make sense. That's why you go to a movie and you think it's real while you're watching it. So whenever you tell yourself you're going to try to do something, your unconscious mind knows that you've already decided to fail. Otherwise you wouldn't be trying, you'd be doing. So think about the number of things you've tried and failed, and think about the things that you have just made up your mind and did them. And that's when you succeed. So people come to me, for example, to quit smoking. You know, I'll say to them, do you want to quit smoking? And they'll say, I have to quit smoking. Sorry, I can't help you. Don't come back until you want to commit smoking, to stop smoking, till you have decided to stop smoking. I'll make it easy. But people want me to make them want to quit smoking. I can't do that.
That's not your job,
I have no power.
is it?
And I don't have any magical power. Believe me, not for lack of trying, I don't have any control over my clients. So when they want it, I can make it happen. I can make it easy for them. Because there are different parts to us. So there's a part of them that wants to smoke. And there's a part of them that wants to quit. Does a part of them that want to smoke want to kill them? Does a part of them that wants to smoke want them to die? No. The part of them that wants them to smoke is trying to comfort them. It's trying to help them relax and feel better. It's just mistaken that smoking is the right way. So the part of them that wants to be a non-smoker says, what the heck are you doing? Why are you smoking? Don't you know it's bad for you? And the other part says, shut up and give me a cigarette. And since we are driven by emotions and beliefs, and because people believe that smoking relaxes them, which, by the way, is a lie. Yeah. If I were to wire you up to a computer while you're smoking, your heart is beating faster, your lungs are working harder, you're in total stress. But when you tell yourself over and over again that smoking relaxes you, you believe it. You know what part of smoking relaxes people? I tell them, do everything you did before without the poison. So people give credit to the cigarette for relaxing them, when if they stopped and took long, slow, deep breaths for 5 minutes anywhere, they would relax. So if they tell me that they are ready to stop smoking, then it's easy. And usually they stop smoking in one session. I shouldn't tell people that, because it's not, one woman, it took me 5 sessions to get her to quit. And she had already lost a lung to cancer.
Oh, wow.
But it wasn't until the 3rd session that I uncovered that she had a secret desire to die. She had a death wish, because everybody she loved died of smoking, and she thought she should too. So I had to get rid of that first. So it took me 5 sessions to finally get her to be a non-smoker. That's just amazing when you see what's going on in the people's minds.
Well, you know, what you're talking about makes a lot of sense.
Well,
Obviously,
that's good.
you know, it makes sense. It works. But I've never heard someone talk about it the way you talk about it.
Yeah, it's such a simple approach. You know, people come to me to lose weight. Some people say that they're addicted to sugar. I say, really? You're addicted to sugar? That's silly. Oh, I just have no control. I said, well, stop telling yourself that. It's not really true. You know, I'm addicted to food. If I didn't have food, I would die. Should I tell myself I'm addicted to food? I met a woman a couple of months ago. She said to me she doesn't sleep. I said, wow, that is so cool. How long have you been awake? She said, well, I sleep every night. So that's not what you told me. You told me that you don't sleep. She says, well, I said, well, nothing. Stop telling yourself that you don't sleep. Because whatever you tell yourself becomes true. If you want to sleep, tell yourself, I can't stay awake, I can't stay awake, I can't stay awake. And then you'll fall asleep. Because your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality or fantasy, right or wrong, good or bad. It only knows what you tell it. So if you tell it, I can't stay awake, I can't stay awake, you fall asleep. If you tell yourself you can't sleep, you can't sleep.
Wow.
If you tell yourself you're fat, your unconscious mind says, okay, I'll do whatever I have to do to make you fat and keep you fat. It's so easy. You must change your self-talk. Never try anything, and stop telling yourself negative things. Stop saying negative things to yourself. And so one guy came to me and said, I just don't think I'm good enough. I said, good enough for what? I just don't think I'm good enough. If you had 5 degrees and you were a medical doctor and a surgeon, would you be good enough? He said, yeah. I said, no. When you're good enough, you can die. Otherwise, you have one more thing to learn. You're never good enough. You always need to work on making yourself better. Good enough means you're good enough for right now. You are good enough to be who you want to be. You're good enough right now, but you can always be better. And that's what humans do, is they always want to improve. And then I said to him, close your eyes, and I want you to tell me, whose voice do you hear telling you you're not good enough? He said, it's my mother. Oh. That's right. She always told him that. I said, now I want you to hear your mother's voice, and I want you to turn it and make it sound like Mickey Mouse. And he started laughing. Now I want you to take that voice and I want you to make it sound like Donald Duck. And he's giggling. And now I want you to make that voice mute. And he's laughing harder. I said, why are you laughing? He said, because she looks so funny. She's making all these faces, but no words are coming out. I said, that's right. Let's just turn off your mother's voice. You're a grown man. You don't need to hear that anymore. She can't affect you anymore. This is what goes on in people's minds.
Wow.
Or somebody else, you know, a guy's really mean to his wife, and he said, I came because I just don't want to be that way. He said, I've become my mother. When he was in school, he was bullied, and now he's bullying his wife and his kid. So I helped him stop being the person that in his mind he was fighting back, trying to get back at his mother and the brats in school that bullied him. Suck it up. You're a grown-up. You could be anything you want to be. What do you want to be? He said, I want to be like John Wayne. Great. John Wayne is great. I said, I can do that. In your mind, imagine how he would behave. He was always a gentleman. So, this is what we do. Use your imagination, and if you can imagine it, you can have it. I'll tell you one more great story. This woman came to me. She wanted to lose weight. And the first thing I say is, can you imagine how you want to look? She said, no. So why not? She said, because she's always been fat. I said, sorry, then you'll always be fat. Because if you can't picture how you want to look in your mind, you can't look that way. Anything in the whole world that's ever been invented was always invented twice. The first time was in someone's imagination. You have to be able to imagine it to make it happen. So she came in for a private session. She was in a group. And so I did a little regression therapy on her. You asked about past life regression before. So I had her go back and to her first life. And she started giggling. And I said, why are you giggling? She said, because I'm so thin. I said, so now you do have a picture in your mind of how you want to look. And then I said, go back more. And she went back, and I said, who are you? And she said, I'm a big fat man. I said, why are you fat? She said, because if we don't eat when there's food, we'll starve to death. So my whole family is fat. We hunt, we eat as much as we can, and when there's no food, we can survive. So I said, which is the technique you do, go to the end of that life and go to the light. She said, I can't go to the light. I keep getting pulled back, which I knew. I knew that would happen. So I said, well, what can you learn from this big fat man? She said, I'm not going to starve to death in this lifetime. That's right. Now send him to the light. And so that was it. Our session was over. I emailed her, you know, tell me how you're doing, how you're feeling. She just didn't respond. And so, you know, you get busy and didn't think about it. About a year later, I saw her on Facebook, and I said, is that a picture of you? She said, yeah, I lost 80 pounds.
Wow.
Because there was a fat man inside of her trying to protect you, trying to protect her from starving to death. But when she learned that she wasn't going to starve to death in this lifetime, she was okay. Your unconscious mind has two jobs. Number one is to comfort you. And number two is to protect you against danger, real or imagined. That's right. That's why people have fears of heights, fears of snakes, fears of bugs, because in your imagination, you're in danger. It's not really in danger. People can't go to the top floor of the Empire State Building even though there's a glass wall in front of them because they're afraid of heights. That's irrational. I mean, to be at the top of a ladder is one thing because it could be dangerous. But people can't do that. Of course they can. You could fix that. Again, really easily. Phobias, fears, probably one session. We call them one and done.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about this past life regression, which I find fascinating.
Oh, it's so fascinating.
It's got to be fascinating. How does that happen? I mean, how do you actually do that?
I know. I don't know. I don't do it. I'm just the coach. I just guide them there. So I'll give you another great story.
Okay.
It's a great story. There was a man that came to me because he had a fear of heights and a fear of death. Now, you know that nobody gets out of here alive. We all die. But most of us don't think about dying. We focus on living. So in hypnosis, I regressed him. And I wanted to just regress him back to the first time he ever had that awful fear. Oh, by the way, he said to me that he thinks he's probably an alcoholic, but he only drinks because he has anxiety to calm himself down, because he's afraid of heights and his job is on a ladder. I know. So I put him into hypnosis and I regressed him and I brought him back, and sure enough, I said, go back to the first time you ever felt that terrible, scared feeling, and where are you? He said, I'm on the dining room table. How old are you? I'm 6 months old. My parents have me pinned down, and some man in a white coat is giving me a shot. He said, I'm very sick. Of course, the shot was penicillin, remember? Before bubblegum medicine,
yeah.
we got shots.
Yeah.
So he said, my parents were afraid I was going to die. I said to him, did you die? Obviously he didn't. He's in my... He said, no. There went his fear of death. Now, isn't it amazing that a 6-month-old developed a fear of dying because his parents were afraid he was going to die because he was so sick? But he got better. But because of the way the mind works, he didn't have the ability, the presence of mind to say, I'm glad I got better, I'm not going to die. No, he had a fear of dying his whole life. He came to me at 50. He was that way for 50 years. So then, this is amazing. So then I said to him, I want you to go back. Oh, I asked him, is this a new feeling or an old feeling? He said, it's an old feeling. I said, wow, he's only 6 months old. I wonder what else happened. So I said, well, I want you to go back further. I want you to go back to the first time you ever had this feeling, and where are you? He said, I'm climbing the Alps. And I said, why are you scared? He said, because I'm not wearing good shoes, and it's really slippery. So, and then he said, I'm wearing a stupid-looking plaid skirt with suspenders and a ridiculous-looking hat. I said, are you a female? He said, no. I said, how old are you? He said, 20-something. I said, okay, fast forward and tell me what happens next. He said, I'm walking into a cottage. I said, so you didn't fall off the mountain? He said, no. There went his fear of heights. So he came out of hypnosis, and he said to me, what was that? I said, what was what? He said, I was never at the Alps. I never climbed the Alps. What was that? And why was I wearing a skirt? I said to him, well, I think it was probably a past life experience. He said, I don't believe in past lives. So I said, okay, well, close your eyes and imagine you're on top of a ladder, which is what I asked him before we began hypnosis. And I said, from 0 to 10, what was your discomfort level? Before hypnosis, it was a 10. After this experience, I said, close your eyes, imagine you're at the top of a ladder. And from 0 to 10, what is your discomfort level? He said, 0. I said, so I guess it doesn't matter what you believe, does it? And there are hypnotists that don't believe in past lives, but they do the work anyway, because whether it's real or not, this is important, whether it's real or not, the therapeutic value is the same. Can I promise you that past lives exist? I can, but I can't because I have no guarantee. I believe it because of all the books I've read. Brian Weiss, for example, a psychiatrist who's written many books. My mother turned me on to him years ago. His first book was Many Lives, Many Masters, which is about his experience as a psychiatrist with a patient who had fears and phobias. And when he regressed her back, like I did, by accident she went back to a former life. And when she was between lives, she knew things that nobody would know. And she spoke to him and told him things about him that she had no way of knowing. And so he, at the end of his experience with her, he said, what am I supposed to do with this information? So he wrote a book. And then he's written, of course, 5 more, and he's famous now. But he's still a doctor, still doing hypnosis, and a lot of psychiatrists use it. And psychiatrists, by the way, that just don't prescribe meds, because some psychiatrists only prescribe drugs. They don't even do therapy anymore. So Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. If you even doubt, after reading this book, that there's such thing as past lives, then let's have a little book discussion about it, because it's amazing.
Brian Rice?
Weiss, W-E-I-S-S, M.D., Many Lives, Many Masters.
That's a great title.
Oh, it's a great book. It changed my life, and I read that when it first came out. My mother sat down and said, I think you might like this book. And I sat down, and then she said, okay, let's go to dinner. I said, sorry, Mom, Not till I finish my book. We ate very late that night, but it is, and you know, it is really an amazing story of how he took her through many lives, and when he was done with her, she had no more anxiety. I've had a lot of clients where their anxiety and phobias come from past lives.
Wow.
I know.
It is what it is, right?
That's right.
This is a good spot for us to take a little break, but it's so fascinating that we're going to pick it back up again. So we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back in a couple of minutes. So stay tuned.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour
Lights there, darts there.
to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
And welcome back. We're here today on From This Corner TV with Fern Tausig. She's a certified hypnotist and a hypno-coach, and she's fascinating. We were just talking about Brian Weiss's book, Many Lives, Many Masters. And of course, I'm going to go buy it and read it because it sounds fascinating.
Amazing.
And I don't know if I believe in past life regression, but who cares? I mean, if,
Right.
like you say, if it works, it works.
I had another interesting case where a young woman came to me. She was in her 20s, and she found that when she was dating, if she would date somebody for more than 2 or 3 times, she would get scared and stop seeing them. And she really wanted to have a relationship. She just didn't understand why this was happening to her. And in hypnosis, I brought her back to the fear, and sure enough, she told me she's riding in a car with a guy, and he pulled over and started putting the moves on her, and she was very adamant about, not responding, and he got angry and drove her to a dark road and threw her out of the car. And she had to figure out a way to get home. And so we dealt with it the way I would deal with it. She came out of hypnosis. She said, I have no idea, that never happened to me. She said, I don't know who that happened to. And I don't even have that outfit that I was wearing. I don't even know who that guy was. It was a really old car. And so that's when we realized that it was a past life experience. And so, but it did it. It did the trick. So that was what was making her afraid. And once we went back, so you go back to the event, you remedy the event, you let them know that it's over and you're safe and it's okay, and tell her she did the right thing, and she got home safe and sound, everything was okay. So you sometimes reframe it, you sometimes help them deal with it in a different way, and they're done.
And it's good for them to remember afterwards?
Yes. Oh, they always remember afterwards. The only time you don't remember, I had only one case where I did not want her to remember, because she went back, she was seriously molested by a family member, and she had these fears. And so in hypnosis, you can do all the work to fix it, but there was no benefit in having her remember it. So she came out of hypnosis, and I said, "How do you feel?" She said, "Amazing. I feel really great." And that anxiety she had was gone. Now, she didn't know what she was anxious about, and I'll talk about anxiety in a minute. But it was gone, and she didn't remember anything that happened in the session. And I said to her, "Doesn't really matter, does it?" She said, "No, I don't care." But most often, people remember everything. There's no reason not to, you know. So anxiety.
Yeah.
A lot of people have anxiety. Now, there's a difference between anxiety and stress. Stress is annoying. You have stuff to do. I'm so overwhelmed, I have stress. But it's annoying. Anxiety is debilitating. Anxiety is where you feel like you're going to die. Your heart beats, you know, really fast. You feel like you just are completely out of control, and so you feel anxious. Some people say that they have anxiety. I said, "Are you sure, or you're just really nervous?" You know. So, what is anxiety? Well, something happened to you before age 7, 8, or 9 that scared you. And the first time it happened, you got scared. And then it was over. And the second time it happened, you not only got scared because of the second thing, but it triggered the fear from the first time. And the third time you got scared about something, you now triggered the first two. And eventually, you're just afraid of feeling afraid. You're not really afraid of something. When people panic, they're not afraid of something, they're afraid of the way they feel, which is out of control and afraid, and that's anxiety. And it's always about the past, it's never about the present. And so I have found recently the two biggest causes of anxiety, you're not going to believe it. Number one is when parents take kids to school for the first time and leave them there. They get so scared and anxious, and that when I bring them back the first time they ever felt that terrible, anxious feeling, it's there. And the other thing is when little kids witness mommy and daddy fighting, screaming, or yelling. Imagine that. Imagine how many parents have no idea that their loud, scary voices screaming at each other is totally traumatizing their little 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old. And when do they get the anxiety? When they become teenagers. And that's what it's about. It's amazing. It's amazing. And you just don't know what you've done to your kids.
Because you're so wrapped up in the moment of the heat and emotion of your argument.
Because nobody taught you how to argue without witnesses like children, or without, nobody taught parents that you ought to protect your children. That if you're having a disagreement, you do it in private. You do it so the children do not have to be scared. I remember once my husband and I when we would fight, we always talked. We were never screamers. But one day we sat at the table and I was so angry at him, I just screamed something. And my kids looked at me and said, "Are you guys getting divorced?" I mean, because they never heard us yell at each other, and I just blurted out one loud thing, and I said no. And now we're very happily married, 36 years. So
congratulations, that's amazing.
Wasn't always that easy, but now it's wonderful. Because when you learn how to communicate and how to solve problems, you don't have to yell and fight.
That's right.
So
that's right.
So, but some parents just never took that course. I used to teach that course. How to communicate, how to have healthy relationships, how to deal with stress, how to keep yourself in control. Because you can't control the weather. You can't control the people around you. You can't control your boss. You can't control your children. You can't control your husband. The only person you can control is yourself. And sometimes you do a lousy job of that.
Sometimes
so
we do.
When you learn to control yourself, everybody else behaves differently. Because even though you can't control other people, you can control the way you allow them to affect you. And you can control the way you respond to them. And that's what I teach people.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. You've got to write down her name and her phone number.
I do phone hypnosis, by the way.
Oh, that's amazing. It really, really is. Because I've talked to a lot, and there's the information. Write it down,
right.
Okay? And in the meanwhile, we'll keep talking here while you're writing. Because, we've all got issues. I mean, I grew up telling myself I didn't want to be like my mother. because she was never in control. And she knew it, and she acted that way. She reacted to everything emotionally.
Instead of responding.
Yes.
Right.
And she was always just out of control in one way or another, sad to say. But this was a woman who was given too much responsibility too early.
Right.
She took care of all of her brothers and sisters, and no one taught her how, and she had to learn by doing, and it was just, you know, a lot of things that she carried with her. And I kind of knew this.
Right.
So I wouldn't take it personally when she would.
Wow, smart.
And I don't know where I learned that, but I did. I mean, some of it got through. You know, obviously, I mean, you can't ignore everything. But I understood where she was coming from. And I never, I shouldn't say never, because I did have an abusive husband. My second one was. But I never argued with the first one in front of the children. Whenever we had issues, I insisted that we waited until the kids were in bed and that we talked calmly and quietly.
Very smart. How'd you get that smart?
I have no idea. I think sometimes we grow up learning things in spite of ourselves, you know, just absorbing things. I was always a people watcher. I was a quiet kid, and I was just watching people all the time. That's what the story goes. And so I learned from people.
And you made a decision of how you wanted to be.
Yes, a conscious decision.
Right, a conscious decision.
Yes.
So we know, and I used to teach child development also. I was a home ec teacher. I did it all, and then a health teacher. So we know that children who were abused, a very large percentage of them grow up to beat their children and abuse their children. And common sense says, if you were abused, and you knew how it felt, why would you do it to someone else?
Exactly.
But it's because of your programming. You learned that's the way to deal with your anger. You learned that it's better to hit than to get hit, and you don't think, you just act. So, but some people make a specific choice. I will not behave that way. I will not do that, and they don't. Why are people that were sexually abused, why do they do sexual abuse? So it's really about the way you're programmed. And unless you have the presence of mind to change your programming, which is much easier to do than you think it is, then it happens. And, you know, I have a great story. So there was a man that used to beat his wife. And she finally called the police. And he went before the judge and the judge said to him, you can go to jail or you can go to therapy. He said, I'll go to therapy. So they went to the therapist, and there was a senior counselor and a junior counselor. And he said to the therapist, listen, I have a bad temper. My father had a bad temper, my grandfather had a bad temper, my uncles all have bad tempers. I can't help it. I love my wife, but when she pushes my buttons, I can't help it. I hit her. I can't help it. I have a bad temper. That's who I am. I'm a hot-blooded man, and I get angry, and I can't help it. So the senior counselor said to the junior counselor, I think we should make a recommendation to the court that he have his testicles removed. He said, what? What are you talking about? He said, so the therapist said, you know that the testicles secrete testosterone, and that's an aggressive hormone. And without those testicles secreting that hormone, you will never feel out of control. You will not ever have to say, I couldn't help it, because those hormones will not be there, and therefore you will never be out of control again. He said, I swear I'll never touch her again. Really? Wow, it's amazing how that happens. Now, he didn't punch his boss when he made him angry. He didn't punch the cop on the corner that gave him a ticket. But somehow or other with his wife, he was completely out of control. So when somebody says, I can't help it, it's a lie.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you what a belief is. A belief is a thought that you repeat over and over and over and over again. So if you tell yourself, I can't help it, you believe it. But it's a lie. It's like smoking. You tell yourself it relaxes you, it's a lie. You believe it, but it becomes your truth because you repeat it over and over again. This mother telling her son, he's not good enough. It became a belief because you repeated it over and over again. So when you make up your mind to stop saying, I can't help it. Really? I see. Somebody picked up your hand and made you punch her? Or, I can't help it. I can't help it. There's food in front of me I have to eat. Really? Wow, that's interesting. I bet it's not true. If I gave you $1 million to resist the food on that plate, could you do it? Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, then I guess you could do it for nothing. So people say things to themselves. Either they've heard it, their mother said it, their father said it, that's the way it is. But it doesn't have to be. Change what you say to yourself, and everything changes. Thoughts create feelings. Feelings create behaviors. If you want to change the way you behave, change the way you think. If you want to change the way you feel, change the way you think. You can control your thoughts, but not until you take responsibility to say, that's not my thought, that's my mother's. How many of us become our mothers?
So many.
Right. Right.
I try to become the better parts of my mother.
And that's great.
The nurturing part
That's great.
that was there.
That's good. That's good.
Because our parents, our family that surrounds us when we're young and growing up, that's the prime example.
That's your programming.
That programming, okay.
When you're born, your mind is like the blank hard drive of a computer. And all your life experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, become your programming. Now, do you use a computer?
Yes.
Are you using Windows 97?
Yeah, I've got...
No,
not anymore, no.
Do you know why?
Because it's old, it's outdated. Yeah.
That's right. A lot of people's programming is old and outdated. They just need to upgrade their own software. They need to delete those programs and make new ones.
That sounds simple.
It is simple. You delete them. You know, people come to me because they have trouble sleeping, because they overeat, because they drink too much, because they smoke, because they can't control their anger. And I'll tell them, those aren't problems. Those are symptoms of the problem. The problem is that there's parts of your life that are out of control. And once you learn that you can't control any of it, the only thing you can control is yourself. And once you do that, it's amazing everything else changes. So just by you changing your response, you changing your behavior, you changing what you think, the people around you treat you differently, they act differently, you feel differently. So sleep isn't a problem. Everybody sleeps. Everybody sleeps.
Yeah.
But you know what? Ambien is very popular. People take all kinds of drugs to help them sleep. I'm like, really? Sleeping is really easy. You just have to allow it to happen. You have to learn how to relax. It's not that difficult. But people don't want to learn. They want to pop pills. They want to pop drugs.
Because it's the easy way out, they think.
So I tell, when I network, I say to people, if you know somebody who's on if you know someone's taking medication for anxiety, for sleep, for negative thoughts, tell them to call me.
Yeah.
Because I can help them. Do you know what placebo is?
Yes, I do.
Why does placebo work?
Because people think it's going to work.
Okay? You are absolutely right. But that's only half an answer. The other half is your brain does exactly what it needs to do to create the chemical to make the change. You don't get better because you think you're better. You actually get better. Your brain creates the physiological change that would take place if you had real medicine. Why? That's how powerful your brain is. So placebo is not that different than hypnosis. I help your brain find new neural pathways, find new resources. I help your brain create the change that you want. I had a man, this is one of my proudest things, a man that was in his 60s, I believe. He had prostate cancer, and he had some treatment, and he had to have some radiation. And he said, and he was having some incontinence. He said he was wearing he was wearing whatever he called them. They were like diapers for grown-ups. It depended, whatever they called them. And he wasn't incontinent all the time, but he was sometimes. And the doctor said, if you don't get rid of the incontinence before the next treatment, you're always going to have that. So he called me, and he came to see me, and I said to him, so what happens? He said, I don't realize that I have to go, and then it's too late. So I said to him, in hypnosis, I said, I want you to go back 10 years, and I want your brain to recall what it was like when it gave the signal to your bladder. Or no, when your bladder gave the signal to your brain, get me to a bathroom. That's what happens. Your bladder communicates with your brain. His bladder wasn't communicating loud enough. So I said, I want to make that signal really loud, really strong and powerful, so that you can hear it, so you'll know, you'll be aware. He came back the week later, he said, it's too powerful. I said, what? He said, the signal. It's too big. He said, it's uncomfortable when I have to go. So are you having any trouble? You having any incontinence? He said, no, but it's uncomfortable. Turn it down. So I turned down the signal. And he came back and he said to me, I'm wearing my big boy undies. No more diapers.
Oh, wow.
Because his brain knew how to do it. I just had to remind that part of his brain and created another, reactivated that connection. His brain knew what to do. He just wasn't able to feel it with his surgery that he'd had.
That's amazing.
That was so amazing to me.
It is, because I hear so many stories of that happening.
Even stroke victims can get tremendous recovery with hypnosis. Because, you know the expression, you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Yeah.
It's a lie.
Yeah.
Because your brain, throughout your entire life, is creating new neural pathways. Look it up. Neural pathways are little connections in your brain. So let's say that I put you in a bus in London, filled with school kids, going down a long, narrow path, and I said, you have to drive these kids. The steering wheel's on the wrong side of the bus, and you're on the wrong side of the street, but it's in your hands. And you are so nervous, your first time driving like this, and all these kids are in your bus, but you'll do it. So the first time you drive on that side of the road with that kind of a steering wheel, you create a very thin strand in your brain. The first time you do something different, that neural pathway is like a little thin string. And the second time you do it, it's 2 strings. The 10th time you do it, it's 10 strings. And you've done it every day, it becomes like a rope. That's your new neural pathway. And then you come home, and they pluck you back in your old car, you get in, you just go back and drive again. It comes right back to you. You go back to the old neural pathway. Your brain, throughout your whole life, is always making new neural pathways.
That's amazing.
You can teach an old dog new tricks.
You know, I mean, there's so much to this that it sounds like you can help just about anybody with anything.
Only because of the power of a person's mind, not because of my power. And as we discussed before, it reminds me of the Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
The Wizard of Oz didn't have any powers, but when people came to him, he helped them to accomplish their own goal based on what they had inside of them. The Scarecrow wanted a brain. The wizard said to him, I can't give you a brain. You don't need a brain. You already have a brain. You are so smart. I'm just going to give you a diploma for validation. And the Tin Man said, I need a heart. You are such a loving Tin Man. But I will give you something that you can hear it ticking. You just need validation that you have it. So I don't have special powers, but anything that your brain can do, think about placebo, think about what your brain does anyway, keeping you awake, making you scared of things that aren't even scary. You know, people say to me, I can't believe that you could get me to stop smoking. I said, I can't believe you smoke. Like, you were born to be a non-smoker. That's easy. So when people, anything that your mind is creating a problem for you with, we can change that. And even changing the chemistry of your body, even changing your beliefs about yourself. What is a belief? A thought that gets repeated over and over again. When you change what you tell yourself, you change your beliefs.
So you help people enable themselves.
Yes.
To heal themselves.
Yes.
To have a better life.
Yes.
To take control.
Yes, to reach their goals, to get rid of their outdated limiting beliefs. People come to me because they're afraid to fail. And I'll say, what if there's no such thing as failure? The most successful people in the world have had the most failures. But you know what? They don't call them failures. What do they call them? Challenges, life lessons, bumps in the road, mistakes. Without those things, you'll never learn anything. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Because you can't. The only time you fail is when you quit. As long as you don't quit, there's no such thing as failure. It's so easy. Eliminate it from your vocabulary. Doesn't mean you're not going to make some mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And aren't you lucky when you make your mistakes young and early in life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've had a lot of bumps in the road over the years. And
they look good on you.
Thank you very much. Because I wouldn't be me without them.
That's right. That's
and,
right.
You know, it is what it is. But the attitude, you helping people change their attitude and feeling self-confident.
Yes.
And knowing, understanding why they are doing something that they don't want to do and making a change. I mean, how simple is that? Are you right? Did you write it down? Her name is Fern Tausig. 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 And she is wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
My mother thought I was wonderful too.
Well, she was right. And there is her information. Please write it down, because if you don't need to call her, you know somebody that should, okay? And she's not that far away. You're only about an hour away from here.
Right, in Orange.
And
people come to me from all around.
She's here in Connecticut. With a car, you can get anywhere today. So,
right.
And she does it by phone too. So, and we've got just a couple of minutes. So I'm going to thank you so much. This was fascinating. I can't wait to watch it again.
I did want to tell you about World Hypnotism Day.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
So January 4th, all over the world, because hypnosis is all over the world, is observance of World Hypnotism Day. And so I try to do a little program each year. I'm doing one on January 5th at 6:30 at the High Plains Community Center in Orange. And it's going to be a 2-hour free informational experience to teach about hypnosis like I did today, but there'll be a hypnosis experience where they will actually get to see what hypnosis feels like. It feels like just the way you feel right before you fall asleep, that in-between state that's just so delightful.
Yes.
So again, January 5th at 6:30, and you could find information on my website.
And we gave you her website.
Right.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank you. An hour's up already? I can't believe
I know.
it.
When you talk, you know, and this has been great. This has been wonderful. I usually, right at this point in time, talk about events in the community, but you know what? It's December. It's the holidays. There's so many events, I couldn't tell you all of them. So the big event that you should think about is make it special. Make this holiday special. Fill it with love and happiness. And just hug everybody. There's just nothing better than a hug. And relax and enjoy it. And thank you so much for joining us. And gosh, we'll see you next time for another hour of fun and information. So please come back. In the meantime, have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. This is